Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee to order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone would stand. I pledge allegiance
to the
the
flag
flag
of the
United
United
States of America,
and
and
to
to the republic
for
which
which
stands
one
one
nation,
nation
under
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty.
liberty
and
and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Tonight's meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and it will be put up on our YouTube channel. I did want to announce that we are trying a different method of delivery for tonight's meeting. So please excuse us if we have any glitches along the way, since this is the first time that we're using the Zoom webinar feature, so that the public who would like to watch will have the ability to click a link and watch our meeting live as it happens. So I just wanted to let everybody know that and to bear with us in case we do run into any types of technical difficulties. So first off, let me just get my list together here. I just want to announce who is on the call. Okay, so for the school committee to this evening, we have Mrs. Robichaud, Mrs. Chartier, Mrs. Kojal, Mr. Mason, Mr. Marks, and myself, Mrs. Hughes. Mrs. Matson and Mrs. Trifolo will not be able to join us this evening. Superintendent Dr. Casavant is here. We have Ms. Geister, our business manager, and of course, Ms. Varney, who keeps us on our toes and keeps us on track. We have Eric Iben and Lisa Parker from the NDEA. And we also have Abby Bennett and Callie Weedle, our two student representatives. So without further ado, we'll kick off into our regular business, which is approving some minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve. I would entertain a motion when someone is ready to accept the minutes of March 17th, 2021.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Kojal. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second from, I'm sorry, was that Deb Robichaud? Any questions or comments on the minutes from March 17th? Seeing none, we'll do roll call. Mrs. Robichaud?
Yes.
Mrs. Chartier?
Yes.
Mrs. Kojal?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
He's muted.
Yeah, he's trying.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mrs. Hughes says yes, so that is unanimous. Next up, we have the approval of some meeting minutes from March 25th, 2021. When someone's ready, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mrs. Kojal. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second from Mrs. Robichaud. Any questions or comments on the minutes from March 25th? Seeing none, we'll do roll call. Mrs. Robichaud? Mrs. Chartier?
Yes.
Mrs. Kojal?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mrs. Hughes says yes. So those were approved unanimously. Next up, we have bills and payroll. I would entertain a motion to recommend to accept the bills and payrolls warrants, to accept the bills and payroll warrants as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mrs. Kojal. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second from Mr. Mason. Any questions or comments on the bills and payroll? Seeing none, we'll do roll call. Mrs. Robichaud?
Yes.
Mrs. Chartier?
Abstain.
Mrs. Kojal?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
And Mrs. Hughes says yes. So that was 5 yes and 1 abstained. So the motion passes. Okay. Now that we have all of our housekeeping items out of the way, I'd like to turn it over to our two student representatives. So good evening, Abby and Callie. I'm so glad that you guys could make it tonight. I will turn it over to whichever one wants to start this evening. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Hughes. Since our last meeting, since our last meeting, we've had a successful end to the third term, and the full school days have gone well with the inclusion of lunch, and the students are looking forward to being back in person full time after April vacation. Of course, they're also looking forward to April vacation to have a break from school to rejuvenate. As of right now, the cheerleading, football, and track teams have started practices, and they're actually at the end of their season now. So softball, baseball, and outdoor track will all be coming up at the end of the month. Some students are very grateful that they are able to go back to what they love doing, and even though it's been quite a different year. I asked one student how their season was going, and they said that the football team has been really great at relying on each other to get them through the year. So it's definitely going to be a year to remember. The Narragansett Theater Company just started working on a play, which we'll be doing for dinner theater. Then the concert band has also been practicing a lot of different pieces. So with the promise of good weather coming, well, not Thursday, but later on when everyone's in person, they're going to be practicing outside more. The Warrior Leadership students are continuing to work on their various service learning projects, and then their student-led academic achievement program or tutoring group just started this past group. So that's upperclassmen and a few sophomores tutor lowerclassmen so they can finish the year in good academic standing. The Central Mass Student Advisory Council had its last meeting yesterday, so the students involved, myself, Sammy Lovewell, and Callie Weedle, we all submitted our final reports, which will be sent to the state committee in the next few weeks. Then finally, the senior class advisors and officers have been working with administration to finalize the year with some close to normal events.
Great, thank you, Abby. Callie, you have some things to add?
I just want to reiterate that, yes, students are very excited to be going back to school full-time in person after break. And a lot of kids have said that sports have been a really good outlet right now because school is so stressful. So everybody's enjoying being able to be on their sports teams, which is nice.
Great, thank you both, Abby and Callie. I look forward to hearing more about our dinner theater and what that might entail and when it's going to happen. It sounds like a lot of fun. Hopefully our weather after the next couple of days. And you know who to tweet at. That would be Dr. Casvant, right? That we won't be inundated with any snow anything that amounts with the upcoming threat of snow, and that the weather continues to turn so that we can get some of these activities back to normal because the state has mandated that they have to take place outside. Callie, I just wanted to give you and your track group a big shout out. I know that going from indoor track, which is your winter season, to now having to perform outdoors with little to no things like shot put, pitch, and things like that. I've seen some pictures of you guys out there with shovels and really digging and helping to make that a reality for the track teams that I know that the spring sports will also benefit from. So it's good to see that you kids are out there and you're all getting a workout one way or another and pitching in and helping out. So it's great. Anyone have any questions or comments for either Abby or Callie? I know, Abby, you also mentioned that you're putting your final reports together for your state, your SAC group. If you're interested in sharing that information at some point in the next couple of meetings, just reach out to myself or Mrs. Varney or Dr. Casvant and let us know, and we'll give you a little bit of time to do that if there's something that you feel is at a place well enough to put out there for people. I know that it's been difficult for the group to work together with people from all over the state since it is virtual, but if there is something that you'd like to share, and Callie yourself, I don't know if you're part of the state or the regional one, I forget who's on which, the same thing, if there's things that you want to report out, please just let us know. All right, so thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and we hope that you'll stick around, but we understand if you have some things that you need to take care of yourself before you start your slide into the April vacation break, right? So great. Next up on the agenda is public input. I do just want to address a couple things with public input, because with our new way of running these meetings, we don't have a YouTube channel that this is being live streamed to. Instead, it's happening via this webinar feature that Zoom has. And there's actually a chat box, so that if attendees did want to send a message to, they call us panelists, but to the people present at the meeting, you could feel free to do that in the chat box. I see that we do have some participants watching us live, which is awesome, so that we know that that's working. So thank you all for coming and watching. During the public comment period, we will address anything that's put into that chat box. During our meeting, if you have a question or comment, you're welcome to continue to use the chat box, but I'm not certain that we will definitely be able to address your comment in real time, since it would be outside of the public comment agenda item, but we will make note of it and make sure that we can follow up on anything that is presented there. So with that being said, we'll move into public comment, excuse me, public input. As of right now, I don't believe that we have any new public input to present. And I don't see any chat comments right now. What I'm going to do, since this is new, is I'm going to move on to the NDEA and turn this over to Mr. Iben and Ms. Parker. And if in the meantime, anybody out in the public does have something, it's probably a little harder to type. So we'll give you a little chance to do that while they are briefing us from the NDEA perspective. So with that, Mr. Iben, thank you for joining us. Ms. Parker?
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you all again. It's been a very busy spring as we've gotten off here with the return of students April 5th to the elementary school 5 days a week. A lot of planning, rescheduling, moving things around had to take place. I want to say I'm proud of the teachers, especially some of our teachers that are now classroom teachers, in the sense that they don't teach their specific subject that they are so passionate about, but are now teaching everything. It's got to be tough. And they took it so well that would be what they would have to do. And it's been phenomenal. They've done so well. And Lisa can talk more about that. I know they have a number of lunches. I know the schedule is weird. But I continually hear over and over again from teachers, I can do this. There's one term left, or there's 40 days left, or I think it's 38 now. I can do this. I can do this. Of course, we all want to be back to sort of the normal schedule, but and I know Dr. Cassavant has sent to them his thanks as well. What they're having to accomplish is just, it's a Herculean task for sure. And then the high school and middle school will start full back with students on the 26th, as you heard Abby share, and I know they're excited about that. And Callie, I know they're excited. That means a new schedule for all of us in the middle and the high school. It's not ideal. And I believe that we, the NDA and the superintendent came together. Thanks a lot. I want to be a big thank you to Mary in the middle school, the principal, Mary LaFrenery, for working so hard to come up with, I must have given her 5 or 6 different schedules to sort of work on as we discussed. Well, if we change this or we change that in the day, what does it look like? And how do we get, and our whole goal the whole time was, how do we get more minutes into our blocks so we can have more time to teach our kids, And it's a wacky schedule. But again, when I sort of surveyed the staff, when I surveyed the teachers, they were like, we can do this. It's 8 weeks of school left. We can do this. We've done all of this other stuff. We can do this, and as I'm sure the superintendent has shared, when the state says everyone can come back, stay at 3 feet, stay at 6 feet at lunch. I don't know what school buildings they're thinking people have access to, that they can just say, oh yeah, 6 feet at lunch, you can fit 500 kids. I don't know where they're talking to, but we've had to do some real creative thinking to make this, what has to happen, right? And teachers have been super supportive of that. So that's been really positive, that everyone just sort of is in the same boat going, if we don't work together, it's not gonna work at all, right? So we've got to work together. And then once again, I do want to advocate for our music program. I know that there was an academic subcommittee that met. That academic subcommittee presented information about what's going on with our music program. And, you know, whereas traditionally we would have a teacher at the elementary, 2 teachers at the middle, and then 1 at the high, and a robust band and a robust chorus, you know, the music department's feeling like, what's going to happen in all of this, right? As we continue to struggle budget-wise with money, continue to look at what's happening with our programs. And so I just want to advocate for them again, that anything we can do as you guys discuss music to keep that program. I mean, when I was telling someone earlier today, when I came to Gansett in 2004, John Jasinski, when he hired me, told me 2 things about the high school I needed to know. That we're the place everything happens in the town, in the 2 towns, right? Friday night lights, that was his words, Friday night lights, and our music program. And he was so proud of those as a high school principal that he wanted me to know that the day I got hired. And we want to see that maintained. We want to see that stay and thrive and be healthy. And then I could turn it over to Lisa if she has anything. I know my experience in the high school with our schedule has been like, oh my God, this is changing. I'm going to have a 77-minute block or whatever's going on, 4 lunches. But I'd love for her to share what's going on at the elementary, because their schedule's even wackier, isn't it?
So typically I have lots to say because I'm out and about and I see a lot of different teachers, but now I'm teaching 4th grade for the last 9 weeks. So I don't see very many people too much, but I do stay in touch as much as I can, and I reach out and visit, you know, during my prep. But I think everyone's doing amazing. And like Eric said, our unified arts teachers, our classroom teachers, and our Title I specialists are classroom teachers, and I am. And it's, you know, I think no matter how nervous anybody was, right when you saw kids walk in the door that first day, it's like it all just goes away, and you just jump in with the kids, and the kids are happy, they're smiling, they're working hard. I know the teachers I've seen in the hallways and talked to, I just happy to have the kids back, all the kids back, and just to bring those cohorts together and have a class be, you know, a real class is just a pretty amazing thing. And the 4th graders that I'm working with, that's the beauty of the position that I've had, is that I feel like I know all of the kids in the school. And just to have these kids, I already know where they're at in math. So I feel like that's like a bonus for me. And I'm doing some live streaming. I'm live streaming 1 class, and 1 class is full in person. So I've gotten that experience, and it's been great. I mean, there's really not much to complain about. The schedules aren't ideal. They're not perfect. You know, the 9 o'clock start isn't a perfect schedule, but it's working, and it's effective, and the kids are getting what they need, and the teachers are, you know, doing what the kids need. And I just feel like people are working together and making things happen. And I don't hear complaining. I don't hear complaining from people. So that's all good. And it is, and you might say, oh, it's only 7 weeks, it's only 8 weeks, but I feel like it's going to be a really good end of the school year for these kids and for these teachers, and the kids are getting exactly what they need.
Yeah, and the only thing I hear is it's just how tired everyone is. Everyone understands why this is happening and why we're doing it this way, but everyone is also like, I've never planned this hard, I've never worked this hard, I've never had to readjust so often. And teachers are used to, right? We're used to that, making things happen and reconfiguring. But yeah, I do hear that a lot, that people are just like, man, I'm tired. But we're going to make it. We're going to get through it.
Yep.
Great. Thank you both for that report. I think, you know, I think we say it probably every meeting, but truly, you know, the committee sends their thanks out to, you know, all the teachers, all the staff, obviously the administration as well, and looking at how well you have all worked together to come up with these solutions. I think, Lisa, you said it, none of these conditions are ideal, but we have the right people that are going to make it work. And that means the most, because these kids mean the most to every individual in this district. So it's nice to hear that feedback. You know, I think we understand the struggles. You know, we can empathize. You know, I can't sympathize because I'm not going through it, but I can only imagine how difficult it's had to be to change your basically, you know, in my terms, your business model. you don't want to dime 15 times. So,
Thank you.
all right. I just, one comment came out on the chat, and Christine Bennett says, thank you, Mr. Ivan, for your comments. I believe it was after your advocacy for the music program. So I believe that's what it was in reference to. Otherwise, we don't have any other chat. And as I said, if someone does want to say something, feel free. I don't know if we'll be able to address it in real time or not. So we'll see if we can. If not, we'll take note of it and try and follow up with you individually after. I just want to make note for the record that our Assistant Superintendent, Kate Calise, has also just joined us. So hello, Kate. Thank you for joining us. So with those things being said, we'll jump over to the FY22 budget status update. And normally I would say at this point that we're waiting for the House Ways and Means, and hot off the presses, they have released their cut of the budget. And there's some good things and there's some concerning things. I think the biggest concern for me is there is no ESSER 2 use of the MLC offset in this budget. I don't know what that means. I don't know if there's something else. So we're still waiting to see what that means. And I'll look forward maybe at our next meeting to hear more, or if, you know, Anne Marie or Dr. Kazian, if you have any, as I said, this is just coming off the presses. It does look like there's some additional monies that were put into certain line items. Regional transportation seems to got a decent amount of funding, but of course, with the issues with our busing and whatnot, I don't know what that means for us. So I'm sure Ms. Geister, you will take a look at that and figure out if we need to panic or not. I think I saw that Circuit Breaker had a little bit of additional funding, and the inclusion of the special ed transportation as a potential reimbursement if those levels would be met. Again, there's a lot of moving parts, and this is only step 2 in the process. We've got a few more steps to get through. I don't know, Dr. Kazian, do you want to add anything to that? As I said, it did just come hot off the presses. And if not, I will have you comment on that. And I'm going to turn it over to you as well, because the next topic with the FY22 budget is the district music program update. So I'm going to just turn it over to you for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have to tell you that I was, I was keeping track through, honestly, Twitter, through the MASC. She has a fantastic job. She literally is at the meeting, or she's watching it, and she tweets out in real time. So, but no, I did not see the kind of the final, the latest version. How's that? I don't know. The ESSER 2 offset doesn't make sense to me. So I think that maybe, I don't know if Anne Marie knows what ESSER 2 offset would be. ESSER 3 would make sense, I think, if you're going to offset maybe MLC, like they did. I don't know. So I'm just saying I don't know what I don't know what they're talking about.
They were taking it away. So whereas the governor said you had to offer your districts the MLC offset,
yeah,
the House, this version of the budget does not provide for that. So there's no offset to the towns for the
I
MLC.
see. Okay.
So
Well,
again, I don't really know what that means. People are too far into this process.
yeah.
The selectmen have voted on things.
I know.
We're ready to go to town meeting.
That means we would have to recertify, and so I to be honest, obviously I don't know. I haven't had a chance to read up on it, and Julie Kelly and company will do a nice job, as they always do, to keep us informed. So I don't think I can speak to that, although I am pleased to hear that they've identified some of the problematic areas that we've been talking about for years, never mind during COVID. So from that perspective, we'll see. And I know that Anne Marie had a meeting. Well, she had a Mars. No, yeah, I think it was Mars meeting, maybe. And they spoke about a little bit about. I'm sorry, MASBO, not Mars, MASBO meeting. So I know that they've, we'll be getting the ground rules, and we're, they're gearing up, and we know that at some time in May we'll eventually receive the grant award. But we're it's in motion. So a lot of things, it sounds like a lot of things are up in the air. So we'll just wait and see what the final, what it finally ends up being. So, excuse me. The last time the last time the full committee met, we reviewed some of the decisions that we made for the FY22 budget in regards to the music position at the high school and what that did and how that translated into ultimately hiring a physics position at the high school. So during the academic subcommittee, we spoke, in depth, or at least more in depth, about some of the reasoning and I don't know, the philosophy behind it. And I think that so some of the feedback that I've received might not be, and I'm going to have to double back because I don't know that either I was not clear or maybe there was a misunderstanding, but there was, at some point, I think the confusion of the music program. First off, I want to just say this, that folks use the term, or the words, the music program, you're cutting the music program. And certainly it's not a play on words, and I certainly don't want to, get picky, but when you cut the program, that means it no longer exists. We in fact did eliminate a position in the music program department, and we did so because of needs in other areas, but we also did so because, quite frankly, that we think that we can offer much of what people are asking for or feel the need to have a robust and strong music program. I think the other confusion was the fact that the reference to an extracurricular activity. And I think that's important for the committee to understand, and folks who may be listening, is that in no way, certainly suggesting that the music program should be, an extracurricular activity. What I did say, or what I did mean, is that certainly in the areas of band, potentially and I'm talking about band as, say, the middle school band, right? And the chorus for the middle school. Instrumental lessons have come up quite a bit, in conversation, that those things could be satisfied after school through an extracurricular activity, because there isn't time necessarily, or again, the staff in the day to do those things, because I think that some folks got the impression that this was happening at the high school. The high school still has a chorus program during the day offered, and it's a credit bearing. They still have a band program, which in fact is credit bearing. And so none of those two activities, I'm just using two of many opportunities for just music that are actually during the day, and they're credit bearing. And so I think that's an important thing to make sure that we settle, and that folks are understanding. Because again, what we did talk about quite a bit when in terms of one of the main areas or reasons that folks have cited that we had such a strong band program is that instrumental lessons could take place during the school day, and they have for years, and et cetera. So that could not continue for a lot of reasons. But one, you certainly can't take students out of an academic program in order to fulfill, well, in this case, lessons or anything else for that matter. Some of the angst really came from the content area teachers who were losing kids, maybe during, instruction. Again, this was almost 3, 4, maybe 4 years ago at this point in time. So, but I think we can satisfy that for, again, in a stipended position, which can then very well be, we'd have to negotiate that through the union, through the NDEA, because the stipended positions run through the NDEA contract. But certainly we could, with the committee, we could certainly take this up at some point, either this month or next, or the next meeting, to utilize what is in the contract about adding a stipended position during the contract year. And there are some steps, and we did that this year for the nursing, if you remember. So we've already kind of invoked that that rule. So I think that there's a lot to be said, and there's a lot to be discussed. So what I've asked, and I've asked if Eric could arrange this week, and I realize we only have a couple days left of this week, but a meeting between myself and the music department, or with the finance, the fine arts folks, or whoever would like to be part of that meeting. And obviously we'd probably do it through a Zoom. So, folks can just address some of their concerns, and I can answer some of their questions that I know that are bouncing out there at this point in time. So in terms of an update, from my perspective, I have not personally received information, that is compelling enough to put, to reapply or put the position back in the budget. Again, as someone had asked me, so you potentially could receive somewhere up in the area of $1.3 million as to 3, and that is a very rough estimate. We're not sure. People brandish these type of numbers around, and we have not been told, and that's quite a bit of money. There's no doubt about that. We do have a lot of need, and as we discussed in other venues, that we might have to push some of that money to FY23 in order to make sure that we are, we're solvent. But again, these are conversations for another day, another time. But I certainly would entertain, and I don't know what else to say because I don't think my position has changed, but would certainly, answer any questions that obviously the committee may have. And I do see some numbers in the chats going up and down. I don't know. I can't see the questions, but so that's my position at this point in time, or the update, pardon me.
Yep, just for your information, the comment was actually from Justice Graves, and I believe it was in response to the comments that we made about the FY22 budget, whereas he says the town of Templeton, that he empathizes with the committee on the budget. That's concerning going into annual town meetings, because he just clarified, so he's a citizen of the town of Templeton, so he's just clarifying where he was from. So that is the comment that showed up. So there wasn't anything specific to your commentary, Dr. Casavant. I look forward to you sharing with us if there's anything else to report out on the subject as you start to have more conversations. If you want to share. Does anyone on the committee have any questions or comments at this point on the district music program update that Dr. Casavant gave? Okay, I'm looking and I don't see any. So I thank you for the update, Dr. Casavant, and again, look forward to any other information you may have going forward if and when you are able to have those discussions, and we can see what can be done, especially as it relates to some of the plans that you're talking about, as far as what can be done maybe in an after-school extracurricular time frame, maybe to fill some gaps. So thank you.
Sure, and I certainly don't want to, and I want to make sure, I don't know that the NDA, well, Lisa's still there. Oh, and Eric, I'm sorry, I didn't see Square, that, obviously I'm not suggesting that it's a done deal. It's always it's in the contract. It's part of it's always a conversation, you know what I mean? But certainly I think that would be an avenue that we could possibly take to help satisfy some of the area of need.
Great, thank you. Okay, so if no one on the committee has any questions or comments on this, we'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the business manager's report. Ms. Geister, as usual, has put out her files for us to review. So I'll turn it over to you, Anne Marie, if you want to give us an overview, and then we'll see if anyone has any questions.
Sure. What I thought I could do tonight is focus more on the grant side and all these grants that we keep getting and some of the stuff that we have spent them on. So I'll start with ESSER 1, which was $133,174. We that basically, we applied for it last spring. It was effective July 1st. And most of that was spent on getting us up and running for the fall. We purchased a lot of cleaning supplies and PPE with it. We used some of it towards some additional sped tuitions that we hadn't budgeted for, that came up from last March to the time school started. It also paid for a lot of technology supplies to make sure that our remote learning went smoothly. And one of the big things that it covered is it provided us with Ingenuity, which is an online platform for remote learning that gives kids more choice. So that was our ESSER 1. ESSER 2, as we've heard a lot about, that one was a total of $551,234, and that's the one that we all know about, that's supposed to have the MLC subsidy. That's all voted on, that our budget is all planned around. It's also covering our budget shortfall for FY22, which was $188,000, and it's providing 3 one-year teaching positions to help with smaller class size and learning loss for next year, as well as helping us to cover the additional summer programs that we're running this summer to, again, help learning loss. We also have another one that was thrown at us. It's the coronavirus prevention money. That one is $71,625. And a lot of these monies have to be used within months. Like this particular one just came out in March, has to be used by June 30th. So this particular one is going to cover one of the additional teachers at the elementary school for the remainder of the year. And it's also providing us with middle school math curriculum, which will be for next year as well. So then we have another one that we just got. It's rural aid, which this is something that we just recently qualified. It's based on if your district has so many kids per square mile, if it's far enough apart, you get a little chunk of extra money for the state. So that one is $57,746. And that one, Dr. Casavant and I have yet to decide on the finalization of what it will cover. And then, as he had mentioned, yesterday I sat in on the MASBO meeting, and the afternoon they spent a lot of time talking about all of the ESSER funds, but all of us, the real hot topic is, what about ESSER 3? Tell us more about it. So there's not a lot that they can tell you in detail. They just said that the RFP will be out in mid-May to apply. They have not released exact numbers. They just keep telling us that it's 2.2% more than your ESSER 2, and to start planning for things. And the big one that this grant is to cover is 20% of the whatever number we get must be used to address learning loss. And again, this one could be applied for. You could use it now till June 30th, but we're opting to start ours and apply for it effective July 1st. And that way it could potentially carry into FY23 as well, once we figure out what the plan is to address all of the requirements that are going to come with it, which, other than the 20%, that's the only one I know of now, but I'm sure it's coming with a lot more that we just don't know about yet. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of that, or.
Does anyone on the committee have any questions? I don't see any. Thank you for that detail on those grants. There is a lot of money out there that has been talked about, but I don't think people understand the timing of a lot of that money and how we are constrained with the uses. So that was very helpful. Thank you. It'll be interested to hear what you think we can use that rural school aid grant on, because I know the parameters of that are very narrow. It's great to get money. I apologize, my dog's barking. But sometimes it's hard when you have a very narrow street that you can go down to spend it. So looking forward to hearing more about that. Anyone have any other questions for Ms. Geister on the numbers as they stand? Okay, I'm looking now. I think at our next meeting, we'll start to discuss some of the wrap up for FY21. We talk about, I know we need to talk about line item transfers and borrowing in advance of anticipated revenue or receipts and whatnot. So we'll do all that at our next meeting, I believe, in May, that will handle a lot of that housekeeping detail. So we look forward to more information at our next meeting on that from you. So thank you. Okay, so next up we have COVID-19 updates. I know there's several items that we do need to actually vote on. So what I'm going to do is turn this over to Dr. Casavant. He can go through the list, and when we need to stop and take a vote, he can make a recommendation, and the committee can decide if we'd like to vote on a couple of the actionable items. So over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, just as the way of an update, the elementary school, we're in week 2. And honestly, it's about as smooth as it could possibly be. Day 1 was a little rough. Day 2 was better. And by day 3, we were right on time. So, of course, not without any hiccups or bumps. You know, folks are, and our parents have been great, and they have been very understanding. You know, dropping kids off at 9 o'clock or thereabouts is difficult. But right now we don't have, and we've talked about this a lot, but we don't have the staff to run the building as we normally would. So all the prep periods have to be in the morning, and the teachers have handled that well, and the parents have too. So in terms of an update, honestly, it's been great. And that is, in fact, it is in direct credit to of course, the staff, and Emily and Courtney, whom, they have the patience of Job, they really do. So they have done a fantastic job. So as Eric, had said earlier, there's nothing but praise just all the way around. It's an incredibly hard job, and honestly, at times they make it look easy. And I don't know how they do that. I don't, but they do. So we're very lucky to have the few folks that we have. In terms of the middle school, high school return, we have been working, just almost since the elementary got in. We have literally scoured every corner of that district for extra chairs and tables, and to make sure that we have enough, obviously, seats and chairs, or tables to go around. And I'm happy to say that as of right now, we do, for the kids for the students we know that are going to come back, who have indicated that they're going to come back on Monday, April 26th. And that, of course, is grades 5 through 12 for us. And so we, on Monday we'll be full. We'll be back. Now, what we anticipate, and we talked about that today, game planned it with the Templeton PD and our entire admin staff, is that, just because they're middle school and high school kids and parents doesn't mean that during the first day of school that there aren't, confusion and backlog of cars and just forgetting how to do it. We get it, and we understand, and we're ready to roll. So I think, you don't know until you know, but I think we're as prepared as we can possibly be. And both the middle school and the high school have been working extremely hard to make sure that they've thought of every possible, nuance to this move, and done a great job. So I think it just kind of got lost in the wash, so to speak, is that fall 2 athletic fee and spring athletic, and spring is coming. Well, it's here, but we think. One is what we discussed about waiving the fees for athletics, and for all or any extracurriculars that are happening. And so what I would recommend is that the committee would vote, after the fact, but obviously fall 2, and the upcoming spring athletic and extracurricular fees, for those activities moving forward to close out the year. So I'll just pause at that, I would imagine, Madam Chair. So
Great. So with that being said, as Dr. Kazimierz said, it was just an oversight that we actually didn't take a formal vote on fall 2. We actually discussed it, said, no, we'll do it when it gets closer. And we forgot to circle back on that one. So with that being said, I would entertain a motion and we can do both of them together unless someone doesn't want to make a motion as such. But I would entertain a motion to have an athletic fee waiver for both fall 2 and spring athletics.
So moved. So
I have a motion by Mr. Mason. Do I have a second?
second.
Okay, and I think that was Mr. Marks, jumped in right before Mrs. Kojal. Any questions or comments? Okay, I do just want to say for the record, we have waived every season so far, so this is consistent with what we've done. So this isn't something new just for these 2 seasons. So if there's no other questions or comment, we will do roll call vote. Mrs. Robichaud,
Yes.
Mrs. Chartier,
Yes.
Mrs. Kojal,
Yes.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Yes.
and Mrs. Hughes. I'm going to actually abstain because my son is in the program, so I'm going to abstain from voting on that. But the motion does carry with 5 yes and 1 abstain. So it does pass that the athletic fees for both fall 2 and spring will be waived this year. So I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Kazimierz.
Thank you. Another issue that is, I don't know, is permeated in some areas is the MIAA tournament eligibility. So the MIAA has an academic standard in terms of courses being failed and eligibility, et cetera. And of course, our own district has those standards, and we follow the eligibility rules. So in essence, what happens is districts have to sign on and say that, hey, you know, we plan to follow the eligibility rules. If you don't, then what happens is that teams cannot go to a tournament, which is really the playoffs. Okay, so you would literally have to forfeit any chance going to playoffs. Now, interestingly, none of our sports seasons have had even the option for playoffs or tournament. As a matter of fact, the MIAA itself waived the requirement in totality. I believe it was for fall 1, if I've got all my sports seasons correct, but it was certainly the beginning of the year. Apparently, there has been some districts whom have just outwardly, just refuted and said we're not following the MIAA, eligibility. Tournament eligibility, will just simply waive it now, and that has created some angst. So I wanted to be clear that my position on this, from a philosophical standpoint, is that the MIAA's tournament eligibility, and by the way, some districts have received letters that they were in violation, apparently. So ultimately, I have a problem with the MIAA really, seriously on the last quarter of school or the last half of the school year, saying that, so now we're now going to enforce the eligibility. Either you're going to from the beginning of the year on or not. That's, again, my personal take on this. We also know that, I would normally say the word students in this next phrase, but I'm going to say every human being that I know certainly has had a difficult go when it comes to COVID and how we've had to educate and live and handle and travel and do all these things, or not travel, whatever the case may be. And so, we have every district in this state right now has reported higher than normal failure rates. Now, I'm going to stop and say that I know for a fact that our teachers, our staff have gone, 100 miles above and beyond to make sure that they are trying to reach out to students and they have done more than enough. I have heard stories from actually parents and kids who said, yeah, Mrs. So-and-so called me at 6:30 at night, wondering, I mean, they're going above and beyond, and some kids just do not respond well to either, they're living in conditions that are just unthinkable, or they need school and we can't offer it. So my point about it is that it is not a matter of the teachers just arbitrarily just going around and failing. I really think it's one of those things about it is certainly COVID related. This district from the very beginning has stayed with the process. We have done what we have done for years, as far as I know, years, but certainly the last couple, is that we put students on plans, academic plans, and there's a whole litany of things that you have to do to be on this plan. And so if you stay on the plan and you meet all the markers of the plan academically, depending on whatever the course is, that they've made sure that you'll do well, you'll be able to pass or do better, achieve. But if you don't follow the plan, then you, in the term ends and you've failed the class, for example, that the plan was to hopefully, help you achieve a passing grade, then it's not like those students get to keep playing. So I think that there was some confusion about this, because I think some thought, one, if they, grade a plan, but you're not even holding anybody accountable because they keep playing. That's not true. The students that were on plans and did not successfully complete the plan or follow it, achieve it, whatever you want to say, they're not playing. They're not athletically eligible. The kids who may have failed for the first time this year, or this year for this term or two, that they've been put on plans, there was certainly a lag of time. So what I want to say to you is that there was certainly a practice or a game in between where I had to make a decision about what the district was going to do. And that certainly wasn't on purpose, because, folks are not following the plan that the teachers have put forth, then they don't deserve to. I mean, I say don't deserve, but these teachers are working pretty hard. So what I wanted to make the committee aware of is that we have followed the process that we've always followed. We've given kids the opportunity to, and our teachers have to buy into this as well. And for those kids who just can't, or I should think positively, for those students who take on the challenge and follow the plan, then they'll remain eligible. Those who do not won't. So in essence, we probably will not be eligible for tournament play in a sense, because again, it's a little bit of a gray area about what the MIAA expects. I believe that we are following the eligibility rules, but in the end, though, if the MIAA or someone has a problem the way we have dealt with this, then we won't be eligible for the tournament, which happens in July. And I have to tell you, quite frankly, we've already spoke to kids. Nobody wants to go into July to play a playoff game, right? And our coaches agree. We start getting into some rarefied air. So there's really I don't believe, Madam Chair, there's a vote to be taken. I think that it's simple. I'm just informing you of that there are other situations going on around us that are not similar. And I certainly wanted to make sure I delineated our situation versus whatever some other district may be.
No, I think you're correct that we don't really need to take it. But thank you for that update on how we're handling the situation. It's tough times for everybody in a lot of situations. And, as we've always said, athletics and other extracurricular activities are sometimes the one thing that gets a kid to participate. So it's good to hear that we're still working with all of those students. And it sounds like we're taking the right course of action.
Yep. We're still holding them accountable, is what I want to make sure that people understand. This is not, we're still doing but we also understand that this has just been unprecedented and it's just been very difficult for everyone. So, okay. So the next is the FY21 school year calendar adjustment. So when the school committee voted to adjust the calendar as it is today, in which we started, 10 school days later, and we took out all of the half days for PD, and and that was done back prior to the start of school. We had no idea that we would then, on a lot of levels, one, be required to take MCAS, be back in this configuration. We always hope to be back in full, but we've got some situations in which we are going to need to. Well, my request to the committee is that we add 3 half days in the month of May. One of them is voting day for Templeton. So, and which falls on the 17th. I have to get my notes because I've screwed these dates up a couple times. So just bear with me here. So the 17th is voting day. And of course we use the middle school gym for the voting machines. So in essence, we really don't have an option. That has to be a half day. Voting doesn't start till roughly around 11. We won't have, again, remember our gym is our cafeteria now. So we have tables set up in there. And so we're going to have to flip that into, of course, the voting station. The other two, I started with the 17th because that's the one important date that's really, in a sense, non-negotiable because the voting has to take place. The other dates are May 4th, which is a Tuesday, and May 28th, which is a Friday prior to Memorial Day. And these days are important because there's a couple of things going on all at the same time. One, we may need all these buildings cleared because we might have MCAS makeups. Now, the state has been clear that, at least at the elementary and middle school, that tests will be given virtually. They can take them online, I should say. But that's not the case, we think, because not all of this has come out yet, but at the high school level, we know that the 10th grade is they must take the 10th grade, and they're going back and forth. So right now we're trying to figure it out. But what we know is if they have to do it in person, we may not have enough space because we have to, with everybody still there. Then there's also the issue of creating summer school, and which is quite an endeavor because the plan is to open that up just, to a lot of kids. And this is not the traditional, I want to make sure I say this because I've received several emails, that this is not the summer program in which, kids, have it's summer camp, right? That we've held for years. That's not what we're talking about. This is the way in which we're going to help, close some of the gaps that COVID has, potentially created academically. So we're going to need this time to do that. And so it made sense to, and again, we tried to space them out over the window of testing, the testing window, the month of May. So in case at different times, if we needed the opportunity to either provide space for testing, et cetera. So obviously being a change to the calendar, the existing calendar, my recommendation or my request is that the 3 dates, the 4th, the 17th, and the 28th of May, be half days for students. And I have to make sure I said that. That's not for staff, that's for students.
Okay, so with that introduction, I'll entertain a motion, and then we can discuss if there's any questions after the motion's made. So I would entertain a motion to approve May 4th, May 17th, and May 28th as half days for the students, and adjust our FY21 calendar as such. So do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Kojal. Do I have a second?
Second.
I think that was Mr. Mason. We'll go with. Any questions or comments on that change? Okay, prior to voting, I just want to announce for the record that Mr. Marks had to leave the meeting. I believe it was about 5:50 or so, 5:45. And I think Mrs. Varney's got the exact time for the minutes. But I did want to announce that he has left. So we will do a roll call vote on this. Mrs. Robichaud?
Yes.
Mrs. Chartier?
Yes.
Mrs. Kojal?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Aye.
And Mrs. Hughes says yes. So that was unanimous, and we have approved the addition of the 3 half days. I'm going to say the dates one more time, just in case the public's watching. May 4th, May 17th, and May 28th. There'll be student half days added to the calendar. So I will turn it back over to you, Dr. Kazabit.
Thank you very much. And last and not least, and I've kind of prefaced this through the previous topic, is that the update is that we've posted and we've for teachers and staff alike for the summer program. And Kate, would you mind speaking to this just a little bit, because obviously you've been a part of that planning of that.
Sure. So Mrs. Saltizik, Ms. Bashand, Mr. Holloway, and I have been working together to plan a summer program. On one side, we're focusing on very targeted interventions for students who are struggling in reading in elementary. On the other side, we have supports for students who are struggling who have IEPs. So both populations will be invited. The students that will be invited on the intervention side will be based on data that we have from mid-year from STAR Reading. We're also going to do additional testing to validate those results, and the survey should go to parents this Friday, hopefully. We'll have probably a 3-week window for people to accept a slot in the summer program. It's going to be 5 weeks, 3 days a week for 5 hours. So it'll be a good opportunity for students to receive some additional support in reading. We have a list of staff from the district who have indicated that they're interested in participating. We have some outside interviews that Mr. Holloway has set up, excuse me, for the, I believe it's Monday and Tuesday after April vacation. So I think, our program is well on the way to providing supports to students this summer, mixing both the special education portion and the intervention for students who are struggling who don't have an IEP.
Great, thank you, Kate, for that update. It sounds like there's been a lot of behind the scenes planning going on, and we look forward to more information, obviously, as you start to really nail down what all the sorry, laughing at our dog and Mrs. Chartier. My cat was just in the film, so anyway, but we look forward to hearing more as those plans get nailed down.
Sure.
And I do just want to say, because we did have a finance meeting, a subcommittee meeting last night, and we were talking about, just the resource issue, that we've got a bunch of teachers out there who have been, working at 250%. And normally those are the people who we continually tap into to help with these things such as summer school and whatnot. And the concern about having those resources. And I just want to, say up front that I'm certainly, it's appreciative of the commitment of the staff, as I'm sure that as you post items and have the teachers respond that they're interested, because it's in the best interest of our students.
It is. If I could just say, I'd like to give a shout out to Kim Chenoweth and Sue Weta, who are our under normal conditions, our interventionists at Templeton Elementary, and they have been very, very helpful in this process because they're the experts, in this area, and we're really looking to them for their help, and they've really stepped up with that. So they deserve a little thank you.
Great, and I'm just going to kind of jump ahead with one comment, because I know that you had presented a couple of months ago the first STAR assessments and some data. And I think we've got it on the agenda for our next meeting. So I think that's going to be a great thing to go hand in hand with more information on our summer school program.
Great.
And where we are. So we look forward to hearing about what we've seen and the tools that we have, which to me is, I think, the most exciting part of it. So often we know there's an issue, but we can never put our finger on exactly what it is. And now we have these tools in place and the people focused on it. So thank you to you and your team and everyone that's involved in figuring out what we need to provide and then, of course, making it happen.
Madam Chair, the one, I just have one more thing under COVID because this has to do with, so if you remember Ashley Niggle, who is our school psychologist for the high school, who she came before the committee, not only to introduce herself, but to talk about the BIMAS surveys, which really, in short, identify any potential, issues with kids, social, emotional, self-harm, etc. So and it's a lot of work, and it's one more thing that our teachers and our guidance counselors, etc., had to do, and it's a lot of work. But I want to give you this. So Ashley reported out today that they did the first wave of this, and several students identified as needing to be checked in with. But in short, one child identified and was at the level in which they were at serious concern to self-harm. They did the follow-up interview, and it was determined that child was having such a difficult time that that really some deep interventions need to take place. But without going into too much, I need to make, because this is true, that there was a plan for self-harm that was evident, and as Ashley put it, and we've already heard back, but that saved a life today. And so people say things like this, and I think that they mean them in the grand scope of things, but legitimately, this program, this assessment saved a life. So, when folks say about, the kind of work that people are doing every single day, academics, I think we'd all agree that academics falls very short when it comes to what the important piece, which we all know it's social emotional, right? And the well-being of all of our kids, right? And our adults and our staff. But the kind of things that we're doing here, mean a great deal. And I have to say this, one, to make sure that this isn't something that somebody's writing a paper about. Our staff are working extremely hard. And what I would say to the staff through Eric, who's with us still, and Lisa, is that certainly a thank you, of course, but the actions of all the hard work, right, to make that happen literally saved a life this week. And that, if no matter what we talk about the rest of the night, before or after that, that's the work that we do in schools. And so I want to make sure I say that under the COVID piece, because, we certainly could tie the two together. I'm not a, psychiatrist, but I'm sure that a lot of it had to do with that. And that's the important work that folks are doing here. And I thank you, Madam Chair, for indulging me one more bullet, but I wanted to make sure that, and that was news to us today. So, a thank you to everyone, but, that's the kind of work that every single one of these staff members are doing every day.
Great, thank you for sharing that, because it is important information, and it's important, I think, for people to know that, the focus that we have is on the whole child. It's a holistic view, and all of the pieces work together, and how important, every person who is in our buildings, how they truly are to each and every student and the impact they have. And again, having these tools are instrumental in helping us. And I probably shouldn't include us as a school, because you guys are the ones there with your hands on and making it successful. So thank you for sharing that. That was very good information to share. Okay, so I think if that's all for COVID updates, because we will touch on, I'm sure, a few other things as we go through. We do have the FY22 school year calendar that we need to vote on. It was presented for review at the last meeting. We had two calendars that were brought forth. One was a plan to start before Labor Day, and the second was the plan to start after Labor Day. I know Dr. Kazavant, you were tasked once again to get your calendar committee together. So I would take a recommendation from you on which calendar the committee and yourself and your team would be recommending for us to approve.
So it's the greatest committee in the land. And I'll tell you, it's a great, and I see two of them are here. So, but it's a great committee. They think, they do. It's a great group of thinkers. I'm not joking, because thinking about this type of thing, and of course, Anne Marie is a huge part of that as well. So the recommendation, quite frankly, is to start before. If you allow me, Susan, to share the screen, I could pull it up real quick if you want, Ms. Hughes. But anyway, can I do that, Susan? Or
Yes, hold on.
Okay.
one second.
That would be great if you would share.
yeah,
'cause
I will definitely. I just couldn't.
Yep, great.
Whoops. Uh-oh. Okay.
Okay,
So
hold
if
on.
yep. Oh, okay.
Okay, should be set.
So, and we, again, like we do every year, we attempt to give you two calendars, and I'm going to do my very best because it's a little bit different looking at this. But anyway, I'm going to try to share again, see what happens. Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm going to share the desktop and see what happens. All right. And boom. All right. Look at that. So I'll do my best here. So is this it? Is this before? Yes. Yes. 8:30. So what we have here is before. So ultimately that the teacher PD days, the two would be on the 26th and 27th of August. First day back for students K-12 will be the 30th. And, normally, again, there's a lot of information in these calendars. So I'm not certainly going to go over point by point, but if I were to attempt to see if I can find the other one, the other calendar would start after Labor Day. And quite frankly, that's a late Labor Day this year. We wouldn't start until the 7th. So, we're talking the balance of the third is off. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So if the last day was the 14th, 1, 2, 3, you'd be in that following week of the 20th of June. So again, there's a lot of the rest of the stuff really wouldn't change much in terms of the PD days a lot of this is just, I don't want to say boilerplate, but contractual or standard practice.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions about the two calendars for Dr. Kazavant? And I've got a screen. Scroll down. Let's see. Oops. What did I do here? Hang on. Oh, now I'm at it, Phil. Okay. Sorry. I did something to my view and I lost everybody. Here we go. Now I think I have everybody on the screen. Sorry about that. Does anybody have any questions before we go ahead with a motion? Since we do have the two different options, I wanted to make sure that we provided the question up front prior to someone making a motion. Okay, seeing none, I'll do this, and if nobody goes ahead and motions, then we will go ahead and have further discussion. But based on the recommendation of Dr. Kazavant, as well as the calendar committee, I would entertain a motion to approve the FY22 school year with the calendar that begins prior to Labor Day.
So moved.
And I have a motion by Mr. Mason. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second by, I think it was Mrs. Kojal, but Mrs. Chartier, you were right behind her. Any questions or comments on that calendar beginning prior to Labor Day? Seeing none, we will do a roll call vote. Mrs. Robichaud,
Yes.
Mrs. Chartier,
Yes.
Mrs. Kojal,
Yes.
Mr. Mason. Oop, you're muted.
Aye.
And Mrs. Hughes says yes. So we have approved the FY22 calendar with the start date prior to Labor Day as presented. So I'm certain now that Dr. Kazavant, yourself, and Mrs. Varney or whoever will get a finalized version out there on the website for people to be able to view. So thank you. And thanks to the committee once again for coming forward. I have to say, it's always, when I think about when I first started on the committee and the challenges of getting to a calendar, that this creation of the calendar committee makes this such a much more wonderful process. It's easy. We as the committee know that it's been fully vetted by everybody who participates in the calendar. So we truly appreciate everybody's time and input into making the recommendation. So thank you. Okay. With that being said, do we have any school committee comments at this point? Okay, I don't
I
see.
would just like to thank everyone for all their hard work. Our administrators, our teachers, our custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, everyone. I'm so proud of this district. We've done so well. Thank you.
Thank you for those words, Mrs. Koschel. Anybody else want to share anything? Okay, I don't see anybody with any comments at the moment. So we will go on to some new business at this point. We do have some surplus items. They are posted on the agenda. I'm going to read through them. There's a few, but I just because with this new way of doing things, I'm not sure who can see what. Or actually, if are we able to share the list that I can put up there and reference?
How about if I do it, Madam
Yeah,
Chair?
perfect.
Because I'm on it right now, so I'll
Okay,
just.
yeah, it's
do
on the
it.
agenda if you want to just share.
Yeah. It's just there's a lot of them, and I don't want to spend 20 minutes reading through a list of items.
So if you give me 1 sec, I have to get
Sure.
back into and share. And then I have to go back. Oh gosh, let's see how this works out now. Okay, there's that. And then do I? Uh-oh, okay. I gotta move this. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with the home. Hold on. Before, nope. I just had it. I don't know where it went. It was. Sorry, guys.
Open up your board docs, maybe?
Yeah, it was in board docs, and I had it, and I don't know where it went now. Hold on. Ah, there it is. Can you see it? I hope.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we are looking to surplus some items that are as presented. So I'm going to ask Dr. Kazimierz just kind of scroll through that list so I don't have to read them. They are posted out for the public on our agenda so that you can go ahead and take a look if you have any specific questions. But it starts with monitors, and then there's a whole bunch of obsolete equipment, and then there's a bunch of broken equipment. And then I think down the very bottom, we've got a refurbished pellet stove and a hopper and some pellets and this Husky truck bed toolbox. So we would motion to have these surplused, and we follow the surplus guidelines. I believe we have to put this out to the towns,
Yeah.
first. They get first pick at the list, and then if nobody wants it, then there's an official surplus process that we can use to attempt to sell or dispose of anything that has no value. So with that being said, I would entertain a motion to surplus the items as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Mason. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. I'll do Mrs. Chartier this time. Any questions or comments on those items that are on the list? Seeing none, we will do roll call vote. Mrs. Robichaud,
Yes.
Mrs. Chartier,
Yes.
Mrs. Koschel,
Yes.
Mr. Mason,
Aye.
and Mrs. Hughes says yes. So that was unanimous. So we can go ahead and move forth with the surplus of those items. So thank you. And I do just want to put out there too, thank you to everyone involved in inventorying what we have and making sure that we do get rid of items that are of no value, can't be utilized, because I believe way back when we used to have some closets full of things that had never been addressed. So it's really important, especially when we're space challenged as such, that we have someone on top of all of these things. So thank you to everybody that's involved in keeping an eye on these things. Okay, so next up is end of year activities. Dr. Kazimierz, I'm going to throw this over to you. We finally got guidance.
Yep. So let
I'll
me
let you go
pull
ahead and
this.
talk through that.
Yep. So let me just start off right off the bat that the state, you know, I'm laughing because they, you know, they don't want you. Well, they've said, look, we don't know about prom, but if you want it, it's on you. And if, you know, we'd rather you not, but if you do have it at the end of the month. So, you know, in terms of, so really what the guidance is that if it really boils down to the district and of course the member towns and their, you know, their ability to do so safely. Let me just, I can wrap up the entire guidance literally in that fashion. And so what we decided, and we've had a lot of conversation about this, as you can imagine. And I wish the two seniors were still here, and I realize they've got stuff to do, but this is the efforts of Miss Fliss and Miss Connolly, who worked, I don't know how many hours to figure this all out. So the summary is that we plan to have all of the activities, and we're going to do so in the safest of ways. Hopefully you can see it down. So I'll try to go through this, and Kate, if I miss something, just let me know. But the goal is, if I'm to get, the most important part of this entire process is graduation, period, right? So graduation is what we had in mind. And we really worked back from there. Now, for some students, prom is the most important thing ever. But graduation is what we're here for. Okay. So let me I think it might be easier to start at the bottom, right at the end, so to speak, and go, okay, graduation has to happen outside. What we know is that families can pod and utilize not only the bleachers, but the field itself. If we all remember back to September when we had the joint town meeting outside, we really used that as our frame. So to kind of put it in perspective, I want to bring your attention right off the bat. I'm sorry, my cursor was in the wrong place. That right here, okay, we have several dates because we have to have rain dates. In our normal world, we would just say, oh, it's going to be on so-and-so day, and if it rains, we'll just move it inside. Well, we know that we can't do that. So we have 3 rain dates, okay? June 4th is is rehearsal, but we have rain dates of June 5th, June 11th. And you can see that right off the bat, we have these dates. Okay, right off the bat. Okay, so that's where we worked our way into. Prom, you will notice, is after. Why? Because we did not want to do something that would jeopardize graduation, or do the very best that we could. So you will see that, and I have to actually look at this, right? June 18th is the junior senior prom, which it says the Colonial Hotel, but it's in a tent behind the Colonial Hotel. That's just a physical location. And so right off the bat, you see that date. Wednesday, June 16th. I know I'm kind of hopping around a bit, but I wanted to get to graduation, which is the most important thing. And then for the kids, this is their most important thing for many of them, is that it will be held on the 18th, but there will be this student pool testing. So we've been going back and forth. We've gathered a lot of information. I think currently there might be, and I can't check with them all, but all the districts that it's really either or, right? Some districts are not having prom whatsoever, but the folks who are having prom are in fact having pool testing a couple days before, in order to mitigate any issues that potentially could take place. I will tell you that I didn't see Miaa, our nurse leader, but there is quite a few kids who already have signed up. In other words, they already do pool testing anyway. So this is not like a big stretch. The other part, just a couple things, is that we will not be allowing anyone from another district to attend. So if your partner is, from a neighboring town, no. The answer is no. We're keeping it. And by the way, that is a pretty standard across the districts who've also decided to have prom as well. We are also, again, given the dates in which after graduation, some folks, kind of worry that, there's not a lot of, well, normally, you can hold graduation, if someone decided to not act, not make some good decisions. But the fact is that we're also looking into, which we've done, I am told in the past, but certainly districts do it all the time, is doing the breathalyzer as well. Just given the fact that it's going to be so many days afterwards, and we're still talking about that. So I wanted to really get that out in the open first, and I certainly will go back to the others, okay? But I felt that it might be best to kind of stay here and answer any questions that folks may have about graduation, right? Up there, and of course, prom.
Great, thank you. Anyone on the committee have any questions about how they're looking to handle, what is it, June 4th would be the hopeful date of graduation that evening with 2 rain dates, and then pushing prom till after school's over to mitigate some of the risks that could potentially be associated. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? Okay, I don't see any right now. I'm sure as people start to think about, what that might
Sure.
mean,
Yep.
and an additional guidance
Absolutely.
that may or may not come out.
Yep. Right. So let me go back to what I would say the more, the more, I don't want to say traditional, but the other events. So I'm going to go all the way back, and again, I wanted to start with the big items. So ultimately, the last day of academics for the seniors will be May 26th. All financial obligations. This is really kind of standard stuff, okay? Tuesday, May 25th, we're going to have the Senior Athletic Awards. If I forget to say this, it's written down, but I want to say this for every single one of these events that I'm going to speak about today, okay? With the exception of, with the possible exception of the baccalaureate, we're still trying to check this one out, but we are going to live stream it. Okay, so if I forget to say that in any of these situations, but please know that any of the type of awards or those type of things, we are going to live stream at the same time. They're also going to happen in the auditorium because we can pod there easier. Quite frankly, it can hold something like 600 people. Again, this is seat to seat. What we already know, because we've done it for the town meeting, that we can do pods of families safely. Our kids can sit up front, but we won't be able to invite the entire family. So if we're hopeful and we have to get some information, but at least one, and I'm very sure 2 parents will be able to go. It just won't be an opportunity for 6 kids, grandma, grandpa, that type of thing, because then we're going to start exceeding that buffer zone. So anyway, that's how we're going to set it up. And the athletics awards will happen in the auditorium on Tuesday. Look at the time, on May 25th at 10 a.m. And the reason is because we're going to need time afterwards to then to spread, honestly, to do the sanitization and do those type of things. Now, we know it's during the school day, but what we'll do is we will create when I say a separate entrance, if you're thinking of the middle school, think of the middle school, and there's the door that we used to, well, there's a tree stump right next to it. How's that? I mean, it's right there next to the art room. We were talking about the stump the other day. So we'll be able to grant their own access, quite frankly, and we'll make sure that everything is, taken care of, and we'll go down the stairs. And if someone needs to use the ramp, of course, we'll be able to make that accommodation. So that's the Senior Athletic Awards. Thursday, May 27th will be 8:30 to 10 a.m. Okay, so I mean, the survey, the caps and gowns, records, book bills, all of that stuff is just really kind of, and the senior car parade. Okay, so that's what I meant to say first. The senior car parade will happen, and we're still working out with with both towns like we did last year. That was a huge hit. It was, people have said that please do this every year, quite frankly. So we're gonna give it a shot, and then we're gonna we'll more information to come on that. And as you can see, low health risk event, popular last year. Tuesday, June 1st is the Baccalaureate Service, and it's the First Church of Templeton. The dress is formal. We're still, we have to check on that in terms of any type of a live stream, but we just haven't had a chance to, get to that. Academic excellence. This is going to happen at the Camelot, like it has over the years. It's by invitation only. And so the food is included, but it's going to be for small potted families. And we have it approved by the Board of Health. The held is a condensed window of time to reduce the possibility of COVID transmission prior to graduation. So ultimately, what you remember is bunches of families sitting around a table, and you have like folks, myself, and we're really going to cut it down to just the essential folks, which of course are the kids, the parents, one or two. We're looking at numbers, and probably just the high school administration, or guidance or something to that effect. We're still working that part out, but it'll be just the minimum. And yes, we are looking into the to live stream it as well. Okay, so we're connectivity and those type of things. Wednesday, June 2nd, 9 a.m. will be the rehearsal for award scholarship night, which will be in the auditorium. Again, I'm going to just, it's a rehearsal for the award scholarship night. But basically, same premises I've talked about above, okay? And let's see, sorry, the actual award ceremony is at 6. Sorry. So it's going to work just like the athletic awards, and it'll be in the auditorium, and of course that'll be after hours anyway. So all of this has been carefully planned. It's been vetted. We have checked with everyone. Did I miss the barbecue? Wait a minute.
Yeah, I think it was one day.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, I did. So the rehearsal was at 9, and I skipped over the chicken barbecue. It's an outdoor event, and again, if folks have been to the barbecue before, that's a huge area with the picnic tables. Well, it'll just be for, of course, again, parents, the kids themselves, the graduates, and some faculty, of course, to round it off, but not like it's been in the past where just everyone is coming, the entire family. So, but I think there's more to be told about that. That will not be recorded, by the way, just so we know. It will not be live streamed. So I know I jumped around a bit, but I wanted to start at the bottom first to kind of give you the idea of why we were doing what we were doing.
Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions on this slate of events? Mrs. Kojal?
Yes, in referring to graduation, will there be a limited number of guests that the seniors can have?
Yes, I think that, I don't want to speak out of turn, but the pod is more than just, the pod itself is more than just mom and dad. In other words, 2, I shouldn't say it that way, for 2. I don't remember the exact amount, but we know that we can spread out a lot there. So that's more to come on that, but it's more than just say 2 for sure.
Lunenburg has 5, so I just wondered.
It's something to that effect, but we have a small class this year, which again helps us in the sense that, with the total number of kids and, in the space that we have, not only the bleachers holds 1,000 people, again, sitting next to each other, but utilizing the same configuration we did for the joint town meeting, we would back up to say almost at, midfield. You're almost at the 50. Think about it, because you'll have all the kids at 6 or 3, whatever behind. So we know that we can fit a lot of people.
Thank you.
I think the official guidance from the commissioner said no more than 6 per student.
Right.
So
yeah, I think it's going to go. I wanted to say 6. I think we can max out, so to speak, but I didn't want to. I would like I have to check on with Colby on that.
Yeah, and I know, and they really have not introduced any additional protocols other than they want the list of everyone there and all that, the stuff that we have continually had to do in order to have these events. So anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay. Seeing none, thank you. Has this information, I mean, obviously, tonight we're in a public meeting, so this has been put out there. Has this been sent out to the senior class for review so they can start penciling things on calendars?
You know what? I don't believe so, because I believe that they're probably trying to answer the question about, and maybe they already have. I don't want to misspeak.
I think Mr. Young was waiting to see how it went
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah,
before
I
he
wanted to, yes, for sure.
officially introduced it to the seniors.
Okay, well, it certainly seems that as a committee, we really don't have a lot of comments other than, great job putting this together. As we all know that this class has had a difficult time with just getting into the building. So trying to come up with a way to deliver all of the events and what they, would like to have. Kudos to everybody for coming up with plan to put that in place that'll keep everyone safe and really give these kids that closure that they need. That I know, in speaking from experience with my daughter, it was tough last year not to have it. So it's really exciting to see that we're going to move forward with all of these. So
they deserve it. And our again, I keep talking about our staff, but they, especially two of them, Katie and oh gosh, they have worked so hard, and Mandy, to make, because they've had to change plans 13 times, so but they've done a great job, and our kids are fantastic. They understand the importance, and they know that they've a lot of hard work. So thank you.
excellent, thank you. And yeah, we look forward to hearing more. And obviously, if there's anything that the committee can do, just let us know, as you always do. So thank you. Okay, so next up, we didn't have anything come up within 48 hours before for the agenda. So we'll go to the superintendent report, and we've just got a few things there. I know, Dr. Kazvet, you've spoken a lot, but I do know we do want to talk about enrollment and school choice, and especially the FY22 school choice. So I'll throw it over to you to handle the items, and we'll go from there.
Nope, there we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the important part is to understand that, in terms of our enrollment, we've gone up. We talked about that during the budget presentation. We know that we have close to, I think only 4 school choice students came back since this whole, going full in person. We thought more would, maybe they still will, but as of right now, only, I believe, 4. So that means that roughly close to 100 are still school choice. Again, 50 thereabouts are folks that we've had consistently. So in terms of our enrollment, it stayed very, level. I should say, from the last time we spoke, which is around, was it 1360, I think, at this point. So it makes sense if that many kids are school. I think I said school choice. I meant to say homeschooled. If I said school choice, I meant to say homeschool. Pardon me. So right off the bat, I would say that there has been no change, and we would not see change this time of the year anyway, or any dramatic spikes. We watched folks to come back from remote, and many have, but homeschool has stayed pretty consistent. The idea of school choice, now I am saying school choice the right way. One of the biggest bones of contention with folks is that they're living here and they move. And then again, we've talked about this endlessly, that what the FAQ from, if we haven't even opened up school choice, we don't have any type of wait list, et cetera, then we have to pick a time which, to make sense, a natural break for them to really move schools. And I spoke to a parent just a week ago, and, they're going to have to move schools at the end of April vacation. Okay. Normally we would have kept them school choice in place just to, to bring us all back up to speed. My recommendation, but at the elementary, regardless, we have no room. So we are full, as we know. We only have 4 teachers per grade. It doesn't look that right now because we have these ESSER monies in order to reduce class size, but that's not a consistent funding source, and we know that. So we're anywhere between 28 and 30 kids per class, if in fact we did not have these extra staff members, teachers to round it out. So there is no room to even consider school choice at the elementary school. At the middle school, we have pockets, but again, we're pretty full. At the high school, we do have, regardless of, when I say regardless of COVID, I don't mean if we were in this configuration, but under a normal configuration, we do in fact have room to accept school choice at the high school level. I think my recommendation would be as follows, because I don't know, first off, we don't know what our configuration is going to be. We do not know if I'm going to be in the same configuration or back to normal, whatever this means, or something else. So in thinking about this and thinking about the FAQ and speaking with folks about this, it makes sense for the following: is to open the district for school choice. Okay, but I think that we create wait lists for every grade. So what do I mean by that? So Ms. Varney will tell you that we'll most certainly get 15 kindergarten to request school choice. Okay, we would say under normal conditions, we'd say no, we don't. But maybe what we do is we say we have a wait list. If in fact, if something should change or whatever the case is that we could reconsider, then we would have to explain that we're not going to that it's not imminent, and we have two opportunities in which to do this at the beginning of the school year in November, I believe. You have to kind of reshuffle them, or then not take any. But my point is that if you created a wait list for every grade, then if folks wanted to stay in the wait list, they could. If for some reason we had space, and I wouldn't mean like 1-for-1, right? But if we had space, then we could entertain the idea of keeping one. But what it really means, quite frankly, is that the child whom, in my example, has been here for 4 years, okay, they move, and it's April 1st, okay, then, and the seat has already been taken, the seat has already been, we already know that child has been in that seat forever. That really allows the child to stay here, quite frankly, right, under school choice. But we know that the seat is not, we're not pushing someone else out. Now, granted, if there's still a wait list, they would have to go to the back of the wait list, right? That's how it goes. So what do I mean? If there are 5 people still hanging on in April, right, for the kindergarten, I'm just making that up, and my parents move and they say, what can you do? And we've got the wait list established. Well, then that child by statute would go to the end, right? The end of the list. I'm sorry.
It's a lottery.
The lottery now, they changed it. So they would be on the list, but it's not a guarantee. It's going to be a lottery.
And then we do a lottery.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I meant not the list, the lottery. Thank you. And so that's what happens, right, at that point in time. Other than that, folks, but at the high school level, I know, and we still are looking at our numbers, what they are, because we still don't know. I think the letters just went out today, as a matter of fact, for Monty Tech. That's my understanding. So I don't know. I don't know who, I don't know how many or anything like that. But so I would say open for the high school, and then we would make that determination once we get there. But other than that, I don't see that you could open school choice K-8 without doing something like I just, clumsily explained.
Mm-hmm. So if I may try to just encapsulate.
Please.
What the recommendation at this point is that we would open our portal so that people can put themselves onto the list. I believe by statute and policy, we have to, you used to have to vote to opt in to participate in school choice. That's no longer the case.
No.
You actually now have to vote to opt out. So we don't actually have to take any action, because our hope would be that we might be able to take some school choice students, but again, it seems like it's still a little too early. So it sounds as if we want to open up the portal off of our website so that we can start collecting information on who may be interested in school choicing here. I believe the next step in the policy would be by I think it says the end of the school year, or but no later than July 1st. So we have, the 16th and the July 1st. We would actually need to take a vote and approve which grades that you would recommend that we would open for how many seats. And then we could do a lottery for those specific grades and those specific seats.
Right.
And then I think the second time, I think it's November, as you said, would be or before school start. I forget what it, I'd have to look at the, and it's all on the website. I just don't want to quote it wrong, that we have a second chance closer to school. So I think that makes a lot of sense, that we start gearing some interest to see who might want to school choice into the district. And then at our next meeting or the following meeting, so our meetings in May, we probably need to nail down if we're going to open specific seats for that end of school by July 1 lottery pull. And then we can go from there. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that? I don't think so. I mean, I know we've talked about this so much that it's kind of a routine topic. And I think we all understand the challenges, especially in the K-8, trying to fit more bodies, especially not knowing the configuration. So I think that sounds like a good plan. And we'll keep this on the agenda going forward for the next couple of meetings. So if we do need to take action, we can do so.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Anything else that you wanted to bring up?
If this, is this my report? I'm sorry, I have, school choice.
Yeah.
I have kindergarten screening days. I just wanted, so there was a little, I'm sorry, I skipped over it, but kindergarten screening days, and more information is going to go out, right, is the 26th, the 27th, and 28th of May. What that means is there will be no school for K students on those days because we have to utilize the staff to do the screening. So more information to go out on that, but I wanted to make sure that I alerted you that on those days we'll do the screenings, and kindergarten will not, the current kindergarten will not be in school those days in order, because we can't do it in the gym. We can't do it the way we normally would do it. So we're just going to have to do it this way.
Great. I think the only other thing was the Regional Agreement Amendment Committee. Normally, Mr. Marks,
yes, I'm sorry, I did.
And normally Mr. Marks would do the update, but I do know he had to drop off. So I don't know if you have anything. I know they're still meeting and working hard.
Yep, we're meeting, and we have a meeting on Monday. Yes, Monday. So.
Great. Okay, next up then, and Kate, I don't want to jump over you, but I know that you've already told us that the program of studies won't be available to view until after April vacation. So this was more of just a placeholder. So we'll be looking forward to, if you want to send that out to us for review, and then we can have a discussion at our next meeting. We can do that, and then handle any questions or comments. I think that'll be a good way to handle it. So thank you, and thank you to Mr. Young and his whole staff at the high school, trying to navigate through the program of studies and advocate for the appropriate changes as need be. So thank you. All right, so left is the subcommittee reports, and I'm just looking through here. I think we have actually touched on every single subcommittee, with exception of probably diversity, equity, and inclusion. And again, Mr. Marks had indicated to me earlier that at our next meeting, he's going to bring the full committee up to speed on what's going on with the specifically the mascot and a few other things that committee is working on. So that'll be a good report for next meeting. I don't think, I'm trying to think, long-term planning, we've put that committee on hiatus for the time being, because with COVID, it's tough to plan further than 12 months, maybe, if that, you're lucky. So that committee is just on hiatus for the next several months, and then we'll start meeting again. Policy, we'll have a bunch of policies to review next meeting. And I guess the only other one would be the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee. I know that we should be hopefully wrapping that up soon. Maybe Mr. Mason?
I think we had our last meeting a week or so ago. I don't remember the exact amount, but I think we came in under 2.5 million on the budget on the school. So
excellent. So is that, so I know that element, the Templeton Elementary School Building Committee was a committee that was formed by warrant article by the town of Templeton. I would assume it would need to be dissolved the same way. So have they been notified that they should probably think at some point in one of the upcoming meetings?
they're talking about that, but we're not sure if we need one more meeting or not. So
excellent. Well, I know there'll be a lot of celebration when that committee is truly done, and it is with great appreciation the committee and the district for all the work and effort that has gone into getting that school built, and all of the things that go into an MSBA project that I think people don't appreciate, the tremendous amount of work that had to happen by so many different people in so many different areas. So thank you. And I think that is all. We didn't have any correspondence. So our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 5th at 5 o'clock again. We will plan on doing Zoom if we can figure out how to maybe bring the committee in person and still live stream the event for the public. We may try that. We'll have to see, with the middle and high school just getting back, and there's some things that need to be put in place, but we'll see what we can do. And I just want to remind the committee that the May 5th meeting, we handle about half of our annual business with appointments and some other things for the collaboratives and treasurer and the physician's amendment, like all of these things we need to do, because our following meeting on the 19th will happen after the town elections, and we will have some new members. I'm hopeful there's new members. I know there's people running, so we'll have some new members at the table with us, and it'll be a good way to get them introduced. And we also have then the rest of the reorganization items, plus all of our other regular business. So please make sure you note on your calendar May 5th at 5, and then the 19th as well. Other than that, I'm just going to throw it out one more time to the committee if anybody had anything to add. Okay, I don't see anyone having anything to add. At this point, the committee needs to go into executive session for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation with the UFCW if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. This meeting will not return to open session immediately following. I would entertain a motion as such.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Mason. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll go with Mrs. Kojal. Everybody's looking, someone else is going to say it. Any questions or comments before we move into executive session? I would just like to thank the public for joining us as attendees at our new way of presenting our meetings. I hope that you found it beneficial and easy enough to do. We appreciate any feedback. So I think at this point, we will then do a roll call to move into executive session. Mrs. Robichaud.
Yes.
Mrs. Chartier.
Yes.
Mrs. Kojal.
Yes.
Mr. Mason.
Aye.
And Mrs. Hughes says yes. So at this point, we'll say good evening to everybody, and the school committee just hang in there, and we will go into executive session once we have, I don't know how we do that, if there's a room or anything. I think there is. So Susan's shaking her head. She's going to handle us.
There's no room, but I'm going to stop the recording and
make sure our participants are gone.
Our participants are gone. So
excellent.
Bear with me.
So thank you, everyone.